Hi there, and welcome to episode 2 of the series in which we're going to talk about empathic skills, or who you are as an empath. You're listening to me, Phyllis Brown. I'm here on Substack, Facebook, YouTube. I'm out there in LinkedIn, but it's great that you're joining me on whichever medium, and hopefully you'll take some value or get some value from what we're going to discuss. So, this episode is about the key traits of empathic people. So, we talked about just recognizing if you're an empath in episode 1. And we're going to sort of just dive a little bit deeper into some of these traits that we touched on in episode 1. And we're just going to sort of dive into them just a little bit more. So, an empathic individual are characterized by their deep connection to the emotions of those around them. So, we intuitively are feeling. So, when someone comes into our realm of awareness, and we say, "Oh, how are you today?" And they go, "Oh, I'm fine, I'm fine." And in us, we're going, "Oh, I don't think they are actually fine." So we might then respond and go, "Are you sure you're fine? Somehow I don't think you are quite fine." And they'll go, "Well, actually, no, I'm not." So we're feeling below the words. That's basically what we're doing. The following traits can be commonly observed by empathic people. So these are things that are really common, and you could really look at some of your friendships that you have. Are your friendships really part of or displaying these particular traits for you? So deep emotional sensitivity. They read the room. They walk into a room and they read it. They are not tone deaf. So they're not ego driven either. So people who are tone deaf tend to be ego driven because their ego is saying something and they're doing something else. And that isn't who they are as a person. So empaths intuitively sense and absorb the emotions of those around them, often feeling what others feel as if the emotions were their own. Now, common distinction I want to make a distinction uh, because this is a technique that I have. So, yes, I do feel other people's emotions, but what I tend to do is I tend to say to myself, "Oh, yeah, I feel how they're feeling. I don't need to feel that anymore." And so I kind of close the door or pull back slightly energetically. Because what you don't want to do is be absorbed into someone else's feelings, especially if they're not feeling great. So if someone's feeling a bit down, lost, angry, destructive, guilty, jealous, rage, depressed, unwell, all of those lower vibrations, and you're feeling great, you don't want to feel into that and then absorb all of that. That isn't your job. Your job isn't, as an empath, to take that emotional debris off of that person. It belongs to them, but we can acknowledge it. So that's what I do, especially in my personal sessions. I acknowledge how they're feeling as soon as I connect. I connect with them when they book in, and then I connect with them about 20 minutes before they arrive. And then once they sit in the chair or I see them online, then I'm there. But I don't hold on to how they're feeling. So that's maybe something to think about if you have friends who completely exhaust you, then you're moving into their vibration onto deeper level. You need to extract yourself slightly. Strong acting listening skills. They listen attentively without judgment or interruption, making others feel truly heard and valued. And I think that's one of the really key skills. As I said earlier in episode 1, it can be interpreted as someone who's standoffish, intensely shy, a little backward, overly reserved, prudish. All of those words, priggish, all of those words that get labeled upon someone who's just being really quiet. I I'm very quiet when I'm in company. Um, and I'm often really quiet because I'm just spending time tuning into what's going on. Now, it's interesting. I have this amazing event coming up on the 2nd of June, and I'm going to be in an arena. And that'll be interesting how I react to not just the people arriving and the performer, but also to the people who are around me. It's really interesting. I often get people, strangers, who just talk to me in theaters and cinemas and what have you. Um, Usually it's a great experience for me because everyone wants to be there. Everyone's excited to be there. And you can really feel their anticipation of being entertained, of being educated, of being filled with joy or emotion, especially if it's a musical thing. You know, the music kind of takes you. So, strong active listening, being quiet, it's not a bad thing. It's just who you are. Compassionate responses. Empaths naturally offer comfort and support, responding to others' distress with genuine kindness and understanding. I think if someone's ego-based, they tend to take that person's drama and make it their own. So by that I mean, if you've got friends around you and you go, "Oh my gosh, I've just been measured. Oh, I know that's happened to me several times." So that's that ego base, and it's about drawing attention away from you onto them. And then suddenly you find yourself, oh gosh, I didn't realize you'd been made redundant as well. You're the one that's facing the trauma right now. They've had their trauma in the past. So an empath would go, oh my goodness, how are you feeling? What are your next moves? What have they said? When does the job actually end? Are you going to be okay financially? Is there anything I can do? Is there anything I can do to support you? Because I've been there. So we would pop our own experience in further down the line, but we wouldn't start with, oh God, I know how you feel. So we would respond to really listening and feeling what they're feeling at that point in time. And other thing that empaths are very good at doing, one, we listen and then we respond and then we just go quiet and we allow that other person to communicate again. We never interrupt. We then respond and we allow space. We allow space for that person who is expressing emotion to, one, release that emotion, then to absorb what we've said, and then to respond to what we've said. So we allow space. Empaths are very good at that. We don't go headlong into conversations without listening, without stopping to talk. We just give space for some healing to take place, for our compassion to make sense to that person and to help them unravel whatever it is or unpack whatever it is that they're going through. So that compassionate response is really important. It's an important key factor for us. High degree of intuition. I've always been very intuitive. They often pick up on unspoken cues, body language, subtle shifts in moods, recognizing underlying issues even before they're voiced. I loved my intuitive skills in my workspace. I loved it. And I still use it in my workspace because um, I suppose as a regional manager, if I go back to that space where I use my intuitive self on a really high degree. I worked as an individual in a particular region, then I would meet my colleagues in head office. And so then we've had to have that forming, norming, storming, norming process of not having seen each other for 4 to 6 weeks, and then come out of that and go back to the isolation of our regions. And going to head office was always an adventure. There was always some drama that was going on that I maybe hadn't been privy to. I was the furthest away, being based in Scotland, and the head office being based in Middle England. And so I would just sit in the car park. So I would arrive after a 6-hour drive. and sit in the car park and go, okay, so what is going to happen today? And I would just get these random thoughts. Yeah. Would just pour in and go, okay, okay, that's cool. Then I would get out of the car. Then I would go into the head office and then it would all kick off. I go, oh yeah, I get that now. Yeah, understand that now. Oh, yeah, figure that out. So intuitiveness is really, really key for an empath. And I've always been intuitive. Always. I can some people say, oh, it's like you're reading my mind. I'm not really reading their mind. I'm just hearing what my guides are saying to me about that person. And I'm just sort of translating that feedback that really resonates with that person. That often happens in my sessions. And of course, being highly empathic, having that ability to just listen, I'm taking notes on the consultation sheet, really hearing what they're saying. I draw boxes and circles around particular words. And then that's where I go back to when the session starts. I'll go, oh, like, we'll start with this. And then they go, oh, okay. And then the session starts. So a high degree of intuition is the normal. It's normal for people who are highly empathic. So trust your intuition more, listen to it more, ask, just ask. I'm going into this meeting, I'm meeting the family, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Just ask. And I'm sure the answers will be given. And adaptable communication skills. Empaths adjust how they communicate to suit the emotional needs of others, ensuring interactions are supportive and considerate. Again, in the business world, I absolutely could do that to the nth degree. So if it was a meeting at head office, and we'd have the chief executive officer, we'd have the chief finance officer, personnel department, have all of these heads of state with key functions. And I could, because I was empathically tuning into each of them individually, my responses to each one of them would be very, very different because I was reading them differently and understanding their needs. And so my communication was fulfilling their needs at that point in time. And I think that having adaptable communication, being able to read a room, is just the best skill ever. It's something that is beyond priceless because when you can read a room and you can adapt your communication skills, then everyone feels a sense of connectedness, regardless of whether it's a junior staff member, admin member coming in with the notes, and you just look up and you say, oh, thanks very much for that, or whether it is talking to the marketing PR people and explains to them what they've done, and you would talk to them at a different level in comparison to talking to the chief executive officer. You would talk to him at a different level or her. So having this adaptability when going to conferences and seminars, when going into family situations, or even when your partner comes home. I think for me, as soon as I hear the garage door going up, I go, oh, there's Michael. How's he today? And I'll just know. And then he'll come in, and then I'll adapt my emotional perspective to match his emotional perspective. And we've been married for 40 years. We've known each other for 42 years. And I'm still desperate to know what's happened in his day. And we work together and we work in the same place. But I work upstairs, he works downstairs, and we have very different functions. So when I come home early and then he comes home, I'm still desperate to know, well, how did your day go? What happened? Where did it go? And then off he tittle tattles and he's really excited, or he's really angry, or he's really enthusiastic, or he's really hopeful, whatever the emotion is. But I'm listening to that process and then I am responding accordingly to that. Having adaptable communication doesn't mean that you're not being genuine. And it doesn't mean that you're giving a false sense of security to that person. It doesn't mean that you're not being your authentic self. So for some reason, that just popped into my head there. So having adaptable communication skills is just who you are. And you are being genuine and you are being authentic. You're just giving a really positive feedback loop to the person that you're communicating with. So I want you to sort of think about these 5 traits on that deeper level and just to exercise some of them, just to put them into practice, observe them between now and episode 3. Episode 3, I'm just going to get my notes. Episode 3 is maintaining emotional well-being as an empath. Touched on that slightly at level 1, touched on it episode 1, maybe touched on it slightly here as well. But I think episode 3 is really key so that we preserve our energy. So hopefully I'll see you in the next episode. You've been listening to me, Phyllis Brown, here on whichever platform you're on. Please subscribe to Substack, YouTube, Facebook, or them all. And it would be great to have your feedback on the topic so far. But until the next time, namaste, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.